Coming up on Wavelength, the results of the Employee Opinion Survey are in. The head of the Environmental Protection Agency is impressed with LCRA's Riverwatch network, and LCRA says goodbye to a longtime friend. Those stories and more next on Wavelength.
From the Lower Colorado River Authority, this is Wavelength.
Hi everybody and welcome to Wavelength. Well, the results from the Employee Opinion Survey are all in now, and they are encouraging. To begin with, almost 70% of all LCRA employees participated in the survey, 1,350 in all. The findings showed a lot of pluses. For instance, LCRA employees are more satisfied with their jobs and feel more secure overall. Employee confidence in the decisions and leadership of top management has increased, along with the perception that management is more willing to listen to employees. And employees' communication and relationships with their immediate supervisors have also improved. Guild Research, which did the survey, says there have been improvements in employee attitudes across the board.
As you know, we did a survey in June of 1988, and in this current survey, we retained 55 items from that 1988 survey, and the most significant finding was that on 54 of those items, there was a substantial improvement in employee attitudes and in the degree to which they perceive LCRA and the management of LCRA in a positive light.
The numbers that the survey showed of the percentage of employees who like their job, who like working at LCRA, and are satisfied with their jobs was overwhelming, and I found that to be very exciting. I mean, I feel the same way about LCRA, but it was really nice to see so many employees feel that way. There are a number of areas in the survey that show that we need a great deal of work and that we need some improvement. And I know that there will be an effort throughout this agency to address those areas and to try very hard to improve.
Some of those areas of needed improvement? Even though confidence in management has increased, employees want a greater sharing of information by management. Employees perceive there is a lack of clear opportunities for career development and advancement in the organization. Employees do not feel that quality performance is always rewarded or that poor performance is always dealt with. And they want to be more involved in the process of shaping the future of LCRA.
It's sort of the idea of empowerment. I think people feel much more in control of what's happening to them and how they contribute to the organization if they have the power to make a difference. So I think that's a real key issue. I think what also came out is that we all need to do a better job of communicating between divisions and across the different boundaries within the company. We still have those walls built up, and it's obviously that's something that we really do need to work on.
And the survey indicates that there's still areas for us to focus on and to improve. And some of those areas we're already addressing, and we'll be making plans to address the other areas as well. The input of our employees is very valuable. We modify what we do based on that input, and we take it very seriously. I think management needs to become a little bit better listener and take advantage of that input, because a lot of times the people that are closest to the problem have the best solutions to those problems.
All employees will receive a summary of the survey findings, and detailed summaries will be available in every work area.
We think we've done some good things in the past. Our agreement with Marble Falls for them to stop discharging into the Highland Lakes, our agreement with the City of Austin to go to the highest treatment standard of any major city in Texas are all significant and wonderful water quality accomplishments. But they basically keep the river in the same condition as it is today, and that's not good enough. So starting today, we launch out on the much more difficult work of trying to combine all these goals and actually improve the quality of the Colorado River.
With that statement, LCRA General Manager Mark Rose announced the most comprehensive pollution assessment program ever proposed for a major river in Texas. LCRA will look at everything happening to the river from San Saba County above the Highland Lakes to the Gulf of Mexico. That will include the effects of wastewater plants, rainwater runoff from urban and agricultural areas, and pollution carried to the river from major tributaries. A group comprised of 22 members from the 10 counties along the lower Colorado River will act as an oversight committee for the assessment.
We're looking for scientific fact, not just political opinion and jurisdictional battles, but scientific fact. And with scientific fact, we believe that that'll breed political courage to do the things that we need to do to make the water better, to breed the political courage to stop doing things, to change the way we're doing things that make it worse.
The initial findings of the river assessment will be presented to the Texas Legislature, the Water Commission, and Parks and Wildlife in 1993, with a State of the River update to be presented every 2 years after that.
Well, the country really needs and respects the kind of leadership you've provided on this issue, and I'm tremendously impressed by what the students are doing.
Environmental Protection Agency Administrator William Riley met with General Manager Mark Rose and members of the Colorado River Watch Network on a recent trip to Austin. These students, teachers, and LCRA staff members are all part of the River Watch Network, which is now the largest citizen-based water quality monitoring program in Texas and one of the largest in the nation. The network is funded and operated by LCRA and the Clear Clean Colorado Association, and now consists of over 400 students and citizen volunteers in 16 different cities along the Colorado River. Students test the waters weekly, measuring 9 different parameters such as temperature, pH, dissolved oxygen content, and the clarity of the water. The program now covers all of the Highland Lakes and each of the 10 counties which border the lower Colorado. Immediately following the roundtable discussion, the EPA chief got a chance to come down here to the shores of Town Lake and join in with the students in the River Watch Network and help them perform some tests.
You look long enough, you can see blue if you're really looking for it.
Yeah.
Students showed off some of the sophisticated equipment they've learned to use in the network.
This is a program I haven't seen the like of this kind of program anywhere else in the country. And one reason I wanted to come here is I've asked since I arrived at EPA, where are the successes in dealing with non-point source pollution problems? And I also wanted to see more volunteerism, more elevation of science affecting the environment. Well, you've got it all here. These students and teachers have really put it together in a very impressive way, and I am impressed.
The students were also excited about what Riley's visit could mean for the program.
I think that it can help us a lot just by getting people interested in realizing that we really are doing something here that's important.
EPA funding for environmental education programs will be increasing next year, and Riley says that the Colorado River Watch Network is a good example of the kind of program for which the funds are intended.
On Monday night, February 18th, a severe storm near Gonzales destroyed 3 towers on the 138 kV transmission line which runs between Gonzales and Cuero. LCRA transmission maintenance and transmission construction crews responded immediately to repair the damage. Electric service was routed around the trouble, and customers experienced only a minimal loss of electricity. New foundations had to be poured, damaged steel had to be removed, and new towers built. All of the work was done by LCRA departments, and service was restored on the line 1 week after it went down.
Unit 2 at the Sim Gideon Power Plant in Bastrop is undergoing a major overhaul. The turbine and generator are being completely rebuilt as part of this normal maintenance cycle. The outage will last about 10 weeks, and during this period a considerable amount of asbestos insulation is being removed at the plant by an outside contractor. This special plastic room is built around the work area to control all of the asbestos particles, and everyone working in the area wears protective clothing and a respirator. The remaining asbestos will be removed in phases during scheduled outages over the next 2 years.
This is how customer billing information used to be gathered at LCRA. These tapes were delivered once a month by patrolmen from remote substation locations to the system metering department here at the service center. The information on the tapes tells LCRA how much electricity the customer used. That information was compiled and sent on to the billing department. Today, the same information is gathered by this PC-based system called MV90. The data is stored at the substation on a computer chip, then fed on demand through telephone lines to these computers here at System Metering. This new system allows the load data to be collected, verified, and sent to billing in one day. The key to this whole operation is the ability to gather information almost instantly from the field from any customer. And over the past year, the substation maintenance and construction crews have added 120 of these remote metering points all over the LCRA system, bringing the total now to 400. That means that all of our customers can be monitored equally. This was a tremendous undertaking, which involved 12 different departments and 100 employees.
But it was because of all the guys that were involved, all the folks that worked those extra hours, that we were able to say, yes, we've completed the project and the billing is going to go out the way it needs to go. And if it weren't for all these other crews involved, they're the ones that really made us look good. There's no way that System Metering can do this project by themselves. And it took a great deal of effort by many different departments, and we sure do appreciate it.
Some 200,000 tons of lignite are taken out of the ground here at the Powell Bend mine in Bastrop County each year. After the coal is removed, reclamation work then begins. That's the task of putting the land back like it was before mining took place. LCRA's Environmental and Land Resources departments are planting some 500 trees and shrubs on this 6-acre tract of land. The idea is to create a wildlife corridor through the mine area and provide food and shelter for many different species of animals in the region. Crews are planting several types of oak trees as well as pecan, cypress, and redbud, all of which were purchased in the Central Texas area. What kind of trees are these right here, John?
These are Chinese pistache. They're a wildlife food, and they also provide a beautiful fall color, and the butterflies also seem to like them pretty well.
The trees will take a lot of watering and care for the first 2 years until their roots are established, but the end result should be well worth the effort. LCRA lost a good friend in February when Judge Thomas C. Ferguson of Burnett passed away. Judge Ferguson was instrumental in the creation of LCRA and served on the first board of directors. In a 1987 interview, the judge reflected back on the construction of Buchanan Dam and what it meant to the people of Central Texas.
The effect of it has been tremendous in this part of Texas, and I think downstream that they have done well because they can go ahead and farm right up to the river if they want to without worrying about the next flood that's going to come down taking all their crop away from them. The towns can build right up to the river. They don't have to worry. So it's made a big difference downstream too.
In 1974, LCRA recognized the contributions of Judge Ferguson by naming a power plant in his honor.
Shortly after the death of Judge Ferguson, LCRA lost another longtime good friend and board member, Judge Jack Miller. Pat Freese takes a moment to look back over the long career and the life of Judge Miller.
Jack Miller was born in San Saba in 1921. The family later moved to College Station, and in 1939, Jack graduated from A&M Consolidated High School. He entered Texas A&M University later that year, and in 1943, he earned a degree in animal husbandry, better known as ranching. In June, he married his lifelong friend, Betty Jo Turner. It was a friendship that dated all the way back to first grade. Fresh out of college, Jack was called to fight in World War II, where he led a dangerous mission which helped Allied forces recapture Guam. For his efforts, he was awarded a Bronze Star by his fellow Aggie and friend, General Bruce. After the war, he went to law school at the University of Texas in Austin and returned to San Saba in 1947. A year later, he was elected county judge, and at the tender age of 27, he became the youngest person ever to hold the job. In 1949, his son Dick was born, followed by Joe, who was born in 1950. And later that year, the Army called him away to fight in the Korean War. In 1954, he was elected district attorney, and in 1958, their daughter Martha was born. In 1960, Jack Miller became Judge Miller when he was elected to the bench of the 33rd Judicial District. He remained there for the next 16 years. Most weekends, the judge would come out to his ranch on the banks of the Colorado River and tend to the cattle. So it was no surprise that in 1976, when he retired from the bench, he decided to take up cattle ranching full-time. But his wife says after about a year, the judge grew restless and returned to the legal profession, this time as a professor at St. Mary's University Law School in San Antonio. In 1985, the judge was appointed to the LCRA Board of Directors. Having grown up on the river, he was very familiar and fond of the agency. Looking back through the archive footage, we found this clip where the judge sums up his feelings for the LCRA.
And I love the LCRA. I revere this authority. I grew up on the banks of the Colorado River. I've been associated in one way or another with the Lower Colorado River Authority most of my life. They wear the white hat in my part of the country.
LCRA also loved the judge. Seated next to him at board meetings was Director Roy Bandy.
I think the most important thing was that he had the uncanny and almost blessed ability to take others' positions and understand and respect what they were saying. And during the times of extreme harassing times and problems that we've had, he was always the one that could moderate and stay calm and look at it from a judicial way, and his extra sharp sense of humor just absolutely is going to be irreplaceable.
I just considered it an absolute privilege to get to know him. He, you know, as I said a couple of days ago, I think Judge Miller's greatest strength is that he constantly reminded us of who our customers are, of the ratepayers, the little guys, the men and women who pay the bills, folks from San Saba to Matagorda. And you know, you knew where you stood with the judge, and he always dealt straight with you.
The judge was known throughout the Hill Country as a man who stood up for the little guy. Lewis Crump was among his closest friends and says in many ways people saw the judge as a John Wayne figure.
He was a livestock man. By nature, he loved ranching. He loved law, but I've often wondered whether he loved ranching or law the best. He was a man with tremendous integrity, and he would say what he thought, but he was not someone to purposely try to hurt anyone's feelings, because he was a fair man from beginning to end.
There were three things the judge loved above everything else: his family, the Aggies, and the LCRA. Judge always said that LCRA wore the white hat in his neck of the woods, and it can certainly be said that he wore the white hat in ours.
Well, that's it for this edition of Wavelength. Thanks for being with us. We'll see you next time.
In preparation for EPA Administrator William Riley's visit to Austin last month, the following 6-minute video was produced. Now, the program outlines what LCRA is doing in the area of water quality. Immediately following that program, we'll have the television news clips for you. Hope you enjoy it.
The lower Colorado River winds 430 miles through the heart of Texas to the Gulf. Its 6 dams and the lakes they form provide flood protection, some hydroelectricity, a water supply for 500,000 people, irrigation for a $300 million a year rice growing industry, and some of the finest parks and water recreation in the state. The Lower Colorado River Authority has the job of managing and protecting this resource for Central Texas, and that work to keep the waters of the Colorado clean now and for the future is called our Clean Colorado program. Since non-point source pollution is the greatest single threat to water quality, LCRA has been focusing on the problem, first by trying to educate the public.
The storm brings the rain, and the rain falls upon the land. Non-point pollution then begins as every small...
Pointless Pollution, a documentary narrated by Walter Cronkite, was produced by LCRA to explain the serious problem of non-point pollution and how all of us are responsible. The video was distributed to all 39 school districts in the counties that border the river and to over 2,000 school systems and public agencies nationwide. And in 1989, an EPA grant helped pay to broadcast Pointless Pollution to all PBS stations across the country and in Canada.
It also is one that we can solve together.
LCRA is now developing a classroom curriculum that will teach 7th and 8th graders about non-point source pollution and what can be done in their homes and communities to help eliminate the problem. This curriculum will complement another LCRA education effort called Major Rivers that teaches 4th graders about water quality and water conservation. Major Rivers, now in its 3rd year, is being used statewide, and last year reached 65,000 4th graders in 2,600 classrooms across the state of Texas.
We are concerned about development and how it affects the quality of the water.
In February 1990, after extensive research and public input, LCRA enacted a stringent non-point source pollution ordinance around Lake Travis in Travis County. Similar ordinances are now being prepared for the counties around the other Highland Lakes, and then work will begin downstream. The LCRA non-point ordinance is unique in the state of Texas by being performance-based. That means new construction must include controls to remove specific amounts of 3 types of pollution from rainwater runoff: sand and dirt, phosphorus, and oil and grease. The amount of each pollutant required to be removed depending on the size and design of the development. In contrast to other ordinances of its type around the state, the LCRA ordinance does not limit the size or density of a project as long as non-point source pollution requirements are met. Currently, LCRA is utilizing an EPA grant to evaluate the effectiveness of 3 of the pollution control devices suggested by the ordinance. In a major effort to measure the overall pollution problem on the lower Colorado, LCRA has now begun an ongoing comprehensive assessment that will study every source of pollution in the river, including, for the first time, quantifying the amount and types of non-point source pollution flowing from both urban and agricultural areas. This comprehensive assessment will also determine the effects of various pollutants on aquatic growth and on the river's habitat. The results of the assessment will be compiled into a State of the River report that will be continuously updated for presentation every 2 years to the Texas Legislature, the Texas Water Commission, and other agencies. By supplying new data on non-point source pollution and the effects of pollution on the river, LCRA hopes to help shape revisions of the state's stream standards up for review in 1993 and 1996. These students are part of the Colorado River Watch Network, another key ingredient in LCRA's assessment of the river. Begun 3 years ago, the network is now the largest citizen-based water monitoring program in the state of Texas. Science students, lake protection organizations, and other citizen groups have been trained and equipped by LCRA to test 9 different water quality parameters. Testing by the groups is done weekly at a total of 30 different sites up and down the river. This year, the network will be expanded to 40 sites, providing full coverage in all 10 counties that border the river system. Data collected by the Riverwatch Network is reviewed and compiled and alerts LCRA to new or developing water quality problems. Point pollution sources have always been a constant target of the Clean Colorado program. After year-long discussions with LCRA, the Austin City Council voted this past December to upgrade permit standards on Austin's wastewater treatment plants from 10.15.2 to 5.5.2. The move will reduce by more than one-half the amount of pollution Austin wastewater plants will put into the river in the future, and will give Austin the highest permit standards of any major city in Texas. The importance of this achievement is reflected in the fact that over 90% of the treated wastewater discharged into the lower Colorado comes from Austin's plants. The promotion of land irrigation techniques for the discharge of treated wastewater is another emphasis of the Clean Colorado program. The technique is used by several small communities on the river, and LCRA is helping the city of Marble Falls convert to this type of system. Marble Falls is currently discharging into the Highland Lakes. The Clean Colorado Project, a major commitment by the Lower Colorado River Authority, not only to reduce pollution, but to improve water quality in every possible way through scientific assessment, community education, and public action.